What's up, everybody? My name is Shannon, and I am still waiting for my Satyr, and today we are talking about the final book in the Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn by Stephenie Meyer. So I have had so much fun rereading these books. I have talked about this before. I really think, like, in this time of 2020, when everything is going horribly wrong, revisiting Twilight has just been a trip, and honestly, I highly recommend it. I do want to talk about this series as a whole, and, like, kind of, like, my memory of it, and, like, society's memory of it. I really think that Twilight, the first book and the first movie, are good. Like, I think we remember them being, like, really, really bad and, like, really, really cringy, and, like, they are in some ways. Like, they are by no means perfect movies, perfect books, anything like that. But I do think that the first book was doing something different and doing something interesting, and it really opened the door for young adult fiction. Like, it has made a lasting impact on the women who have read it. And I do think that New Moon similarly was doing a lot of the same things, had some similar ideas, was like kind of going forward in an interesting way. But I do think that Stephenie Meyer kind of lost it when it came to Eclipse. I do wonder if that has to do with her getting the movie deal. I do wonder if, you know, she leaned more into that love triangle because they were selling and like all of that kind of stuff. So like, that's when it started to get repetitive. That's when it started to get really annoying to me. And then with Breaking Dawn, we just, like, took a hard left into Crazy Town. So, for those of you guys who need a refresher on Breaking Dawn, this is the book where Bella gets married, Bella gets pregnant, has a demon, creepy child, finally gets to turn into a vampire, and then the Volturi show back up. It's just a wild ride. It's split into two books, like, within this one book, which I do think was needed, but I almost feel like you could have split those into their own books instead of making it into one, because the part one and part two is so vastly different from each other, which is another reason why, like, I think I might have seen part one, but I know I haven't seen part two, so I feel like, you know, making them into two movies might have been a good idea. I don't know, I haven't watched them yet, I'm going to, but it's just so weird how different they are, and I really wonder if, like, Eclipse got in the way of that, if maybe more of part one was gonna be more of the third book. I have no idea, this is just kind of like me speculating. But in part one, Bella and Edward get married, they go on their honeymoon. You know, one of the conditions of getting married that Bella really wanted is that she wanted to have sex with Edward while she was still a human. And, okay, raise your hand if you remember there being smut in this book. I remember being scandalized in 7th grade. I remember everybody being scandalized. Everybody reading this book, like, we all just knew. We were like, oh my god, you're reading Breaking Dawn. Oh my god. And like, I get there in this book, and it's a fade to black. And it's not even like, you know, things are happening fade to black. It's a, like, several scenes are missing fade to black. And I was just so floored and just, like, taken off guard. And, like, I've never understood how 50 Shades was born out of Twilight fanfiction. I get it now. It's because Stephenie Meyer didn't feed her rats. There are, like, 3 fade to blacks in this. And, like, let me tell you, Breaking Dawn, out of all of the books, is so horny. When Bella wakes up as a vampire, she's hornier than ever. And Stephenie Meyer just really leaves you on the hook. And I just think that was a disservice, and I'm very angry about that. But that aside, this results in her becoming pregnant with a vampire baby. And at that point, it switches to Jacob's perspective. And we get her whole pregnancy from Jacob's perspective, which I wasn't really looking forward to because I've talked about this. I don't like Jacob's character at all, but I do think getting that outside perspective on Bella was a fresh take to this book because it gets very repetitive. This whole book, like, we keep having the same conversations over and over and over. It's very long. It's really thick, but it's because it's printed on thicker paper, but it is like 750 pages, so it's pretty long and it gets very repetitive. So having Jacob's perspective, I think, did kind of, you know, shake it up and make it feel like new and interesting, but it takes away from the fact that, like, these books are all about Bella. These books are all about what Bella wants, so having the world building that we get in this book, like Eclipse, kind of takes me out of it. On that note, when Bella becomes a vampire, we do get several chapters of her enjoying her new life, which I really, really loved seeing. One thing I love about Breaking Dawn is that it is very unapologetic in the fact that Bella gets everything that she wants. She finally gets to become a vampire, and, you know, it's a lot better than they were expecting. She's so much better at it than they thought she was going to be. You know, she still is so in love with Edward. She can still see her father. She gets to have a baby. She's, you know, loved and happy. Like, she gets to have it all, and this book is so unapologetic about it, which I really like. I feel like a lot of the times we've gotten into this habit with YA books where you have to make so many sacrifices, and then, like, the ending might not even end up happy. Like, I do think of Katniss, and with her ending, even though I didn't like that ending, she does get to have it all too. And, you know, she did have to give up so much, so getting to see her have that happy ending was a good thing to see. And that is something that I think was kind of born out of Twilight. But what I don't like is that halfway through the second part of the book, suddenly we're in this, like, another plot line with the Volturi coming back, and there's all this weirdness about vampire children, and then all of these new vampires come up, and there are so many names. Bella even says that she can't keep up with all the names, and Stephenie Meyer has a list of all of the names of vampires. There are so many. It's so much world building out of nowhere, and it does make me feel like she was writing this, you know, while Twilight was filming. It does make me feel like she was expecting to get a lot of synergy from Twilight. Like, I remember there being rumors of, like, a Renesmee spinoff and all of that, and I do feel like she was trying to lay the foundation in this book. That's not a bad thing, but it did take away from Bella's perspective and, like, her story, and it made the pacing feel a little bit weird. So overall, like, I'm giving this book a C-. I skimmed a lot of it. It was ridiculous. The plot is just weird, but I do think it ties up Bella's story really well. I do like seeing her completed journey, and I had a lot of fun reading this series. So I highly recommend doing it if you haven't yet. I enjoyed reading this, and I'm actually going to start rereading some other books as well. I'm so sick of, like, this negative, pessimistic feel that a lot of media has had lately. And yes, this does have to do with The Rise of Skywalker, but I just want to go back to these books that, like, make me feel good. And, like, I know we're going to end in a way that I really enjoy. Like, I've gotten my friends to read The Selection. That's going to be on Netflix. I'm going to reread that myself. So I'm really excited, and, you know, 2020 sucks, but I'm going back to the 2010s and living my best life. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can talk books with me every week. That is everything got for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!